I have 3 months to live, 3 months to write, 3 months to tell the truth, but some stories should never be told. To hear this shocking confession in its entirety, find the Ghostwriter on the Best Twist podcast, where I, Clyde, will tell you every last detail.
21. We end up at a Taco Bell drive-thru. The Thai restaurant closed, a sudden yearn for chalupas rearing its head. There is a storm coming, the air electric with anticipation, the sky dark enough to be dusk. We head back to my house, racing the rain, his foot heavier on the gas, my eyes watching the clouds. He holds his hand out toward the takeout bag. Pass me a taco. I tighten my grip on the bag. Not in the car. If I had a rule book handy, I'd outlaw drinking, eating, and talking in the car. I'd insist that only 80s music be played, nix any air fresheners, and require absolute control over the car's climate. I'm a grown man. If I want a taco I just paid for, in my truck, I can have one. He shakes his hand and I scrunch up my face, digging in the bag and unwrapping one of the 6 tacos he'd ordered. 6? Who needs 6 tacos? Here, I shove it into his hand and look away, closing my eyes briefly at the crunch made when his jaws close around the hard shell. There will be bits of cheese everywhere, strings of lettuce falling into the floorboard, his hand one dirty mop that will touch the steering wheel, gear shift and door. In my purse are hand wipes. And if he thinks he's stepping into my house without a thorough wipe down, he's crazy. He puts on his turn signal and makes the turn without me telling him, his sense of direction better than mine. I used to constantly get lost. I once drove to a meeting in New York and ended up in Princeton. It was a lack of focus issue, my mind wandering through the pieces of my latest work in progress, miles and important turns slipping by unnoticed. Now, there are probably apps that keep you on the road, constant reminders of upcoming actions, a way to easily see where you are in your journey. But back before, all I had were maps, ones with directions scribbled in the margins, my chances slim of getting anywhere on time. Simon always drove, his hand occasionally leaving the steering wheel to reach over and touch my knee, the weight of his palm comforting, his smile at me shy, as if I might push his hand away. Are you married? The question is a hollow attempt to push away the memories, Simon's eyes, and the curl of his fingers around my bare knee. No. I recognize it immediately. The clip of words, the tightening of his shoulders. I don't want to think about the past. He doesn't want to talk about his present. It's too bad for him, because he isn't allowed to cut my head open and then protect his own. Why not? I was married. She passed away. I suddenly understand the look I'd seen in his eyes, the haunt of grief that hugged the edges of his smile. No wonder I feel a kinship with him. We've both lost someone, his pain still as raw as my own. I look away. How'd she die? Cancer. Go figure. I sigh. That's encouraging. Sorry, it's a popular disease. You could have been more creative with it. I risk a glance at him. Told me that she got trampled by elephants while on safari. Fine. It was a band of cannibals. They broke in and feasted on her. I barely escaped with my life. Oh my God. I try and swallow a smile. Please tell me that she passed ages ago, so that this isn't terribly painful and rude. 3 years ago, but conversation with you seems to lean toward painful and rude anyway. He finishes his taco, and I watch as he crumples the wrapper into a ball and tosses it into the floorboard. I wouldn't have thought that littering in a vehicle needs a rule, but it obviously does. I'm sorry about your wife. Thank you. There is silence, and against the windshield, the first drop of rain hits. I watch it, then a second. Then there are 100 blurry dots across the smooth surface, his hand reaching up to start the wipers. Have you outlined anything yet? He has to speak up over the rain, and I turn to him. No, I will this afternoon. I won't need a lot, just an idea of what is next. Have you worked off an outline before? No. He grins at me sheepishly, like it's any confession whatsoever. I could have told you that 5 chapters into any of his books. His writing lacks the organized structure that comes from an outline. It wanders in places where he should be concise. He has plot threads that sometimes dangle, as if he'd planned to go one route, then unexpectedly switched courses. I've told him this, of course. I have criticized his sloppy execution in plenty of emails, dozens of them. They haven't made any difference in his work. My criticisms ignored, his own path consistently and stubbornly retread. Book after book, like a broken record played by a deaf DJ. You'll have to learn to work off an outline. He may push every rule I set, but this is non-negotiable. If he can't stick to the path I give him, it won't work. I'll be fine. We are on my road now, passing homes of people I used to know, of children Bethany once played with. He turns into the driveway and parks. 22. I didn't realize I was lonely until I met him, until he fused himself into my life so completely that there wasn't Helena and Simon, but only us. And once I got used to us, I didn't want to be alone anymore. The rain fills our silence, hammering against the kitchen's window. It took 20 minutes to eat, 10 more to organize ourselves and devise a system. Now, 2 hours later, and neither the rain nor our hands pause for breath. I outline a chapter, write the first paragraph, and pass the page over. He picks it up, reads it over a few times, and begins to write. I was correct. He is fast. Not just his writing, but the execution of. I had envisioned a henpecked typist, but he surprises me, his prowess that of the 100 WPM variety. I listen to him go and my fingers ache from just the sound of it. We are still in romantic country, and he jumps in where my first 4 chapters left off, finishing the story of my first year with Simon. The giggling, happy girl that I became in his presence. The way my virtue crumbled with something as simple. Flowers. I was so young back then, so inexperienced in love and courtship. Simon took me to the movies, and I bought my own popcorn. He interrupted my own popcorn. Sentences and I ate up his words. When his hand snaked up my shirt, I let it. When he pushed my palm to his zipper, I obeyed. I fell in love impossibly early, just months into our relationship. I thought it was cute how Simon would drink too much and hang all over me. I felt sexy when he pushed me against a tree in the darkness of the park. I told him about my books and he listened. I cooked dinner for him and beamed when he ate it. He wasn't all bad, and I wasn't all naive. In between the idiocy, there were a few moments of sweet young love. In between the lies and the secrets, especially in the beginning. We did love each other. At least, I loved him. Fiercely. Blindly. Stupidly. You think he didn't love you? Mark speaks, and I look over at him. I've almost forgotten that he is here, my mind and my mouth running away with me, spurred on by the wine, the bottle now half empty before me. I haven't had alcohol in years. I forgot how weak it makes my throat, how much it opens my heart. I stopped drinking because it made me feel too much. I stopped drinking because I was worried, after pouring a glass, what I might say, what might slip out. A stupid fear for a woman with no friends, no drinking buddies, no social media accounts to corrupt. You think he didn't love you? I hadn't said that exactly, but I understand where Mark gets it. Half of the time I convince myself that Simon didn't love me, that he was married to our big house and the lonely girl that worshipped his words and overlooked his faults. But I think he did. Early on, I think he fell just as hard for me as I fell for him. I tell Mark and he nods as if unsurprised, as if there is anything likable in my emaciated frame and bitter words. I need a scene, he says, lifting the bottle and filling my glass. A good one between the two of you, a happy memory, one to add before this, one pre-engagement. I sit back in my chair and bring my knees to my chest, cupping the wine glass with both hands, its contents the color of pale sunshine. Ah, close my eyes and try to find one scene, one happy moment when we were in love, reckless and passionate, our minds void of all sense. I don't come up with one. I think of 100. Midnight. The glow above us, his hands tied on the rungs of the ladder, a skinny one that snaked up one leg of the water tower, a spray can stuffed into the waist of his pants. He lifted one foot and hesitated, looking down at me, the terror on his face illuminated from above. He made it 15 feet and stopped, our initials quickly sketched on the leg of the tower in bright orange paint, a shaky heart around them. When he made it back down, he was panting, his armpits soaked in sweat, his face disappointed when he saw the short distance that had traveled. I told him that it was beautiful. He kissed me and his lips trembled. I finish off the glass and blink, my eyes wet. Our first time. His sheets smelled like hamburgers and sweat. We turned on the fan and the hum almost drowned out his roommate's TV. I was nervous, and we were both drunk, our night spent at a bar, celebrating my print deal, my head spinning from too many appletinis. He didn't have a condom and we discussed it, our slurred conversation filled with immature logic and groping. The act begun and finished before any conclusion was reached. He pulled me onto his chest and told me onto his chest and told me he loved me. I closed my eyes and calculated my ovulation window, given the date of my last period. Mark pushes a napkin across the table at me, and I pick it up, looking down at the pattern, pink apples stamped into the thin paper, their cheery repetitions occasionally interrupted by a green leaf. Kate must have bought these. Let me get you to bed. He's standing now, his hands helping me up. The kitchen dim, the afternoon light gone. What time is it? I look at the oven, but the thought... Numbers on it blur, either from tears or intoxication. I can make it. I step away from him, then think better of it. Never mind. I reach out and he takes my arm. He's thicker where Simon was thin, his arm hair coarse where Simon was fluid, and he's taller, by at least 4 inches. My room's at the top of the stairs. I'll have to lay down in our old bedroom, that stiff 4-poster bed where Bethany was created. The one I haven't slept in since that day. I'll move once he leaves. I'll only have to lay there for a few minutes, for the sake of appearances. I say goodbye to him at the entrance to my room, and walk into the space I rarely enter. I drag back the covers and half crawl, half fall, into bed. The sheets still smell like Simon's cologne. I can still feel his lips on my collarbone when I pull them up to my chin. It isn't just this bed. The memories of him, as much as I fight them, exist. In the shower, I sometimes think of his kiss. In the car, I remember how he would reach over, his hand cupping mine, his thumb caressing the back of my hand, and tighten imperceptibly at quiet moments. A hug of sorts. I remember how much we laughed, our inside jokes, how he would beam at me when I said something witty. When I hit my first bestseller list, we opened cheap wine and sat on the floor of that apartment and made a ramen noodle bonfire. That night in bed, a laptop open, his arm around me. We'd looked at houses. The sky is the limit, he'd said, and we'd gone crazy, flipping through homes we never thought would be able to afford, envisioning lives beyond belief. We'd known that this was our new life, and that there would be more bestsellers. We'd thought that everything, from that point forward, would be perfect. I close my eyes, and despite every intention not to, feel the pull towards sleep. I hate Simon with my entire soul, and I love him with every other inch of my body. And neither really matters because he is dead, and I killed him. 23. My new worst friend somehow tags along to my doctor's appointment. Helena Ross? Are you the Helena Ross? The nurse looks up from my bracelet, her pierced brow pinching upward as if concerned by the concept. She can't possibly read my books. She has a rainbow magnet stuck over a photo of her and a friend, one with more body hair than me, and we all know that's saying something. If this girl reads my straight-laced romances, complete with the obligatory male-female pairing, then she needs to expand her library immediately. No, I'm not. But I get asked that a lot. I try to pull back my hand, but she holds it firmly, 2 fingers pressed against the underside of my wrist. Wait, sweetheart, I need to get your pulse. My pulse is probably perfect, calmed by the lie. I've always been a liar. Maybe that's why writing came so naturally. 1,000 lies, disguised in a character's voice, bits of my life sprinkled through the pages. The perfect camouflage for whatever it is I feel the urge to say. I got a great parking spot. Mark comes from somewhere, a grin on his face like he has accomplished something other than irritating me. I'm still not sure why he's here. We rode all of Saturday and most of Sunday, finishing off the weekend with some well-needed alone time. Then, this morning, he was there, on my porch, all but insisting that he bring me to this appointment, even though a taxi was on call and available. Ep5. I watch as the woman drops my wrist and reaches for the blood pressure cuff. This place is nice. The chemo area has little cubbies, much nicer than where Ellen was. Ellen? His voice softens when he says it. I feel a pang of jealousy and poke out. Please don't make this entire thing a tribute. His nostrils flare a bit and I watch with interest. He has more minute reactions than Simon ever did. Like flared nostrils? I always thought that was a book thing. One of those literary reactions that never actually happens in real life. Like swooning heroines or angrily shook fists. I expect an apology, but he says nothing, and I like him a little more for it. Looking good, the woman says brightly, and I don't know how that could be possible, but I can't bitch at a woman wearing purple kitten scrubs. Let's get you in to see the doc. The doc is different than the one who handed over my death sentence. He is an oncologist and will handle my crumbling body for the remainder of my life. I stare at the Harvard diploma on his wall as he explains, without introduction or cushioning, the next few months and how my body may react to it. He is an enthusiastic prescription writer and fills out 5 different scripts, passing me the stack that will allow me enough drugs to weather a gunshot wound. I tell him that I've done just fine on my current meds, but he doesn't seem to care. He's pure doom, wrapped in pale skin and too much ear hair, his voice clinical and dull, the kind that has me ready to nod. Off within minutes. He doesn't meet my eyes, he doesn't smile. And if there was an empathy class at Harvard, he flunked it. We get along just fine. 2 hours later, I walk through my front door and pass a stranger. She is a short, squatty woman with an apron, one who avoids eye contact and shuffles past. The cook that Kate found. I bite my tongue, listen to Mark drill her senseless, and make it to the sunroom, settling into the recliner and leaning it back. I turn as Mark enters, his guard dog duties complete, and watch him set his giant leather duffel down. You don't need to be here. This is the 3rd time I've said it. I don't want you here. The revised statement lies on the end of my tongue, pushing, easing its way out. He moves to the kitchen and hunger stops my statement. I watch with interest as he opens the fridge and pulls out a container of food. Debbie, that's the chef, said she put the food in here. I look past him, at the open door of the fridge, my perfect alignment of water bottles and cherry cokes now crowded to the side, and replaced with enough Tupperware containers to get Optimum and her brood through 3 Thanksgiving dinners. I eye the container in Mark's hand, watching as he opens the microwave and sets it inside. What's that? Lasagna. He presses a button, and the electronic hum of radiation fills the air. I'm thinking you need an official poison taster, just in case Debbie read one of your novels and wants revenge. I volunteer as tribute. Ha! I say flatly, but smile despite myself. Chivalrous of you. It's a cowboy thing. He sniffs the air and I'm almost angry at how good it smells. Maybe I should have hired a chef before. If this tastes good, if I've been missing out on 4 years of edible enjoyment, I'm going to be pissed at Kate for alerting me to this mistake. Mark glances at me. You hungry? I tilt my head, distracted by a knock on the front door. This is what happens when you start talking to people. I go from a life of solitude to Grand Central Station. Mark moves forward, his back straight, and my mouth twitches at the protective stomp of his stride. I hear the crack of the door, murmured voices, a female apology, and the sound of clunky feet tripping toward me. I heard giraffes would be quieter, and I know, even before I see the bright pink clogs and polka-dotted socks, who will be there. I groan. Helena. Kate sounds surprised, as if we are bumping into each other at the grocery store, and not inside my house, 3 hours away from Manhattan. Hey, you really didn't need to come back. I told her this. In every single email and the phone call this morning, I told her not to come. You shouldn't have come. She steps further into the sunroom and completely ignores me. I know. You didn't want me to come, and I'm not here to stay. I promise. She turns to Mark with a smile. I'm Kate, Helena's agent. Nice to meet you, ma'am. Mark Fortune. I watch Kate's face redden as he extends a hand. Perfect. I'm so glad we're harmonying up my house. If the cancer doesn't make me nauseous, all of this togetherness will. I clear my throat and they both turn to me. If you aren't here to stay, why are you here? Well, when I left the city this morning before you called me, I didn't realize that Mr. Fortune would be here. She flashes him a quick smile. And I'd thought you might want some company. Oh yes, that's me, a companionship addict. I say nothing and the silence grows. Well, Kate wheezes out the word and awkwardness hangs in the air. The microwave dings and she brightens. That sounds like food. Let me get it. Mark follows her into the kitchen, and I relax my head against the recliner. The only item in this room, the big overstuffed chair, was a lazy boy special. One I often ride in, and just as often, fall asleep in. There is something soothing about the act of writing, a drug that lures you into another world, but then forgets to stop, and sometimes carries you all of the way into sleep. I kick my feet free of the blankets and look at the backyard. The windows in this room have gotten filthy. The outside caked with years of pollen and grime. The bottom screens littered with dead bugs and the occasional leaf. I used to wash them every summer. I would get a giant bucket of soapy water and a sponge, put on a bathing suit and a 70s playlist, and give them a thorough once-over. Bethany would try to help, her tiny hands gripping the big sponge, her reach only accessing the bottom panes, her attention gone at the first sighting of a lizard, or spider, or Simon's call. I remember the smell of hamburgers, the baseball caps Simon wore, the taste of his kiss as he would pull me against him and brush fallen pieces of hair from my eyes. We once danced, out on that patio, the grill sizzling behind us, Bethany singing beside us, his eyes tender as he looked down on me. In that moment, during that Rod Stewart song, there hadn't been the arguments, the competition. There hadn't been my mother, or any rules. There had only been a love song, and the sway of hips, and the scent of charcoal in the air. In that moment, I would have sworn we were going to be okay. 3 months later, he was dead. 24. Mark. Helena moves to the sofa, where she falls asleep. A half-eaten tub of ice cream on the floor beside her, the television on. Housewives arguing in seaside mansions. He turns the volume down and pulls the blanket over her. Her face relaxed. She looks so young, not more than a few years older than Maggie, though she must be at least a decade older. He pauses at the ice cream, then leaves it in place, his earlier attempt to remove it met with violent opposition. He walks into the kitchen, passing an empty glass to Kate, who dips it into the soapy water. Is she sleeping? She asks. Yeah, The anti-nausea medicine they gave her is pretty potent. I wouldn't be surprised if she's out the rest of the night. He steps next to her and pulls open an empty drawer, then another. You know where hand towels are? Here. She hands him one. She seems to have only one of everything. Most of these drawers are empty. That seems to be a recurring theme in this house. He glances around at the stark kitchen, book sales struggling. It's a joke, and he's pleased when she smiles. She passes him a plate to dry. I think she's just the opposite of a hoarder. She thinks. The intrigue surrounding Helena Ross grows, so you don't know her well. It was a sad realization that the only two people who cared enough to be here are both strangers. No. She likes her space. She pulls the drain on the sink and shoots him a wry look, which is why I'm a little surprised to see you here. I sort of elbowed my way in. She seemed like she needed some help. A single syllable seeped in suspicion. She turns to him and folds her arms across an ample chest. She is not the easiest thing to work with. I know. I'm trying my best with the content, and he has, truly, tried. He's put more effort into their chapters than he's ever put in anything before. Part of it is because he understands how seriously she is taking the project. The second motivation is an insecure desire to please a legend. A legend now snoring, one arm hanging limply off the couch. A legend who has read everything he has written so far, and yet hasn't given a line of feedback. He must be performing well, must be nailing the feel. Otherwise, she would lash out and give him some of that famous Helena Ross hell. She'll rip your heart out, but she doesn't mean it. She pauses, and he can feel the assessment in her stare. I think she needs you. More than just your words. She needs someone to help her through this. My wife? He stops and collects himself. I've been through this before, I can... No. Kate shakes her head. That's not what I meant. This book, that's what she needs help with. That's where her focus is. Her death. She meets his eyes. She's treating it like a side effect. 25. As a child, I only loved myself. And even that was a love dipped in confusion and self-criticism. As an adult, I learned to love in a stilted fashion. My relationship with Simon similar to that of my first ski lesson. Slow at first, my hand gripping the safety rope, my breath in my throat, waiting for the eventual fall, the eventual tumble. After I began to trust him, that's when the danger really started. That's when the hills became taller, more like mountains, and my risk went from that of a skinned knee to something much more deadly. I wake up on the couch, the words echoing in my head. I grab a stack of Mark's latest content and write the paragraph in the margins. The room dark, except for the television. There, the beginning of the next chapter, done. I set the pages aside, my entire body aching when I stand and stumble into the kitchen. There. The light is on above the microwave, pill bottles in a perfect line along the counter, a note in front of them. Wake me up. I don't recognize the handwriting, but it can't be Kate's. It's messy and male and missing a please. I am turning to the stairs when I see his feet. They are bare, jutting off the end of my recliner, and there is the low sound of a snore. I plod into the sunroom and peer at him, his mouth hanging open, features slack. Men are so ugly when they sleep. And Mark is typical, the second snore coming louder than the first, his face twitching as it struggles through the inhale. He didn't need to stay here. I'm perfectly capable of sleeping on my own. Chances are, given Kate's prior visit, any dishes are done, the trash taken out and toilets cleaned. He should be sleeping in his hotel, that duffel bag somewhere other than my floor. Speaking of which, I consider the bag, which slouches next to his chair. Settling onto the cool tile, I pull it toward me, my eyes lifting to him for a moment before I pull the zipper open. The contents of the bag are fairly unexciting. A grab bag of old man underwear and clean shirts. There are no pants, and I eye the leg of his jeans, which hang off the edge of the recliner. I relax a little when I find his dop kit, his toothbrush and razor inside. His invasion of my home not creeping into a bathroom. I find myself mildly disappointed that there is no porn magazine, or flask, or pill stash, no well-creased photograph or love letter hidden inside a book or passport. I do find a wallet, my hands careful as I pull out the overstuffed leather billfold. Lots of cash, over $1,000. A driver's license in the name of Mark Fortune, his birth date putting him in his early 50s. His height a generous 6 foot, weight of 205. He is an organ donor, 1 point in his favor, and has a motorcycle license. I thumb through the other cards, plucking them out as I go. An automobile association card. What are you doing? I glance up from my spot on the floor, watching as he slowly hefts the recliner upright. Going through your wallet. I hold up a black American Express card. I thought you had to spend $1 million a year or something to get one of these. Worried about my finances? You still have a Blockbuster card? I don't wait for a response. God, you're old. I pull out the ARP card. Is this teensy discount worth destroying your sex appeal? That's the determining factor in my inability to get laid. An ARP card. He eases his way out of the chair and I hear the actual creak of limbs as he stands. It can't help. I flip to the other side of the wallet, moving past a Discover card. Who still uses those? A concealed weapons permit, good to know. And a player's card for a New Orleans casino. Speaking of which, do you have a girlfriend? No. He shuffles to the kitchen, and I watch him pass, wondering if the bottom of his feet are clean. You want anything to eat? I drop the wallet and consider the question, my hunger warring with my fear of sickness, my head a bit loopy from the drugs. Maybe some toast. He moves farther into the kitchen, and I hear a cabinet open. Thank you, I call out, turning to look over my shoulder. His movements slow and careful, those of someone still half asleep. You're welcome. He finds the toaster and I turn back to his wallet, examining an insurance card before moving on to the last item. A laminated photo of a girl, 13 or 14 in age. This your daughter? I ask, turning over the photo in my hand. On the back, there is writing, neat and pink and cursive. I love you, Maggie. Original girl. Bet she thought about that inscription for ages. Yep, that's her. It's an old photo. You like jam? No. Good. He shuts the fridge. You don't have any. You get along with her? I slide the photo back into the leather sleeve and close it, dropping the wallet into the bag and standing. The room tilts, and I grab the recliner and wait for a moment as my vision returns to normal. I do. He scrapes butter over crisp toast and glances up at me. Sit down. I'll get you some water. You should drink as much as you can. It helps to flush out your system and the meds. And she's at "Oh, miss," I say, remembering our earlier conversation. I try to picture the daughter of this man, what she looks like, acts like. Sounds like the name of a cow. He shakes his head, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. His shirt is stretched out. There's 2 days' worth of stubble on his face, but I can still see where he was, decades ago, attractive. It's a nickname for the University of Mississippi. He turns away, walking to the fridge, and I watch as he fills a glass with ice water. What's with the lack of furniture? I shrug, taking the glass. I'm a minimalist, I'd say. The sarcasm pokes at me, and I can't stop the bristle that moves along my spine. I got rid of most of the furniture once I was alone. I rip off a bite of toast and chew. You could have sold the house, moved into somewhere smaller. Yep. I take a sip of water and feel my first hard stab of nausea. Selling the house used to be a common suggestion. Right after the funeral, I got flyers and market reports from realtors, all boasting about the stats of the home, none mentioning the stigma that might follow it. I looked it up once, the effect on value of a home that has hosted death. It's not a fact that has to be disclosed. These walls could hide blood splatters in a homemade dungeon. The oven used to cook organs, and we'd never have to tell a soul. But in this small town, everyone knows. Everyone knows about the strange widow in the big empty house, and the day it all fell apart. Mark doesn't seem to know. The newspaper articles and obituary both used my married name, Helena Parks. I've Googled my maiden name and Bethany's, my maiden name and Simon's, my maiden name and death, and nothing comes up. I am protected, though I can't say the same for him. Last night I Googled Mark Fortune, and a treasure trove of tragedy emerged. He told me about his deceased wife. The rest, the do-I, the bankruptcy, the rehab, he hasn't mentioned. It's fine. I have my secrets, and he has his. The book is what matters. Did you buy this house with your husband? I feel the action a split second before it comes, and I lunge for the sink, my chin barely clearing it before I vomit. The toast rough and painful on its exit, the taste hitting my gag reflex, and I retch again, spraying the spotless surface of my retch again. Sink. Mark slides a water bottle toward me and I grab for it, rinsing and spitting into the sink, my hand clutching at the faucet handle and pulling it, needing to wash out the sink. I run the disposal, the counter vibrating under my forearms, and I don't have the strength to look when Mark gently touches my arm. I'll clean that. Let's get you into bed. I can't take a second night in my old bed. Eventually, I'll show him Bethany's room, the tattered remains of my heart. For now, I push away from the sink. I'll sleep on the couch. You should go to your hotel. I'm fine in the recliner. I'm too tired to drive, assuming you don't mind me staying. I do mind. I want to be alone. I don't need his ice water, his concerned looks, his constant mothering. I want my house and my privacy back. I want my happy place, which is in Bethany's room, in my sleeping bag, surrounded by her things. Whatever, I mutter, slowly moving past him and toward the living room. The couch flickers with color, still lit by the television, and I pull back the blanket and crawl onto my belly, pulling the pillow against my cheek, my eyes closing. The last thing I remember, before falling asleep, is him feeding me more pills. 26. The phone wakes me. It is a siren, loud and incessant, and I roll over on the couch, pulling the pillow over my head and waiting for it to stop. Then, I remember Mark. Hear the click of a door as he moves through the house, his weight creaking the floorboards, his steps echoing through the empty house. I throw off the pillow and lift my head. Don't answer that! I fall off the couch, my fingertips scraping along the floor, and then I'm standing, my steps drugged and confused, the room tilting as I move through the dim room and toward the kitchen. Don't answer. I run into his chest, my fingers curling against the flannel of his shirt, and I look up into his face, surprised. I'm not answering it. He supports me and looks around for a chair. Nothing around, and I feel his hands tighten on my forearms. Let's get you back to the couch. No. I straighten, my bearings found, and stand, pushing against his chest. I'm fine. The phone stops, and we both fall quiet as the machine beeps from its place in the hall, one room away. I let out a sigh of relief when a telemarketer's automated voice comes on. I've dreamed of Charlotte Blanton, her visit, her email. A call must be next. Are you hungry? Mark's voice is mild, as if my drunken sprint to the phone was normal. I think so. I make it over to the stove and eye the scrambled eggs in the skillet. You cooked these? Yes, they're edible. The eggs look more than edible. They look delicious. I grab a paper plate from the cabinet and spoon some onto it. You can take more. I've already eaten. This is enough. I consider the toast, which sits beside the stove. I move on. Coffee. Yes, please. I sit down and see a stack of papers, crisp and double-spaced. Is that new content? I was so hesitant at the beginning to read his work. I watched him type. I answered his questions and I waited. My hesitation was a mix of fear and worry. I was afraid he wouldn't do it justice. I was worried his words would be flat. My fears had been unfounded. I'd known, when I started the first paragraph, one that had smoothly continued what I had begun, that he would do fine. He easily captured my voice, followed my outline well, and kept the tone I wanted. I swung by my hotel and printed it. He sets down a cup of coffee. How do you like your coffee? Black is fine. I eye the pages, the eggs forgotten. I wrote some more this morning, but haven't had access to a printer. I nod, pulling the pages closer. Can you grab me a pen? There's some in the drawer to the left of the fridge. I sit back, kicking a foot up on the opposite chair, my fork stabbing absently at eggs as I read on. I finish the plate and barely notice when he replaces it. Cut strawberries appearing, everything gone by the time I finish the content. My stomach full, my fingers tapping against the edge of the final page, itching to write some words of my own. Can you email me the rest? I can print it here. Already done. He shakes a medicine bottle. Want some medicine? The anti-nausea, please. Whatever's been knocking me out, that's the anti-nausea. I make a face but still hold out my hand for the pill. I'm not very entertaining. I disagree. Our eyes meet as I take the pill. I roll my eyes and turn, glancing at the clock, 10:14 a.m. In the last 24 hours, I've slept over 16 hours. I should be wide awake, but all I want is to lay down, my fatigue even worse than yesterday. Let's move to my office. You're the boss. He picks up the pages, glancing down at my notes before he straightens. He doesn't move, and I realize that he doesn't know where my office is. I've lived in a world of my own creation for too long. One where the sole character is a neurotic, nosy individual who can't receive a stranger's mail without opening it. If you had put me alone in his house, I'd know his social security number and the condition of his air filters by now. This man has seriously wasted his time, fixing me food and typing away. Now, with my legs in working condition, my mind's somewhat clear. He's lost his chance at invading my privacy. The steps have gotten higher in the last 2 days, and I literally wheeze at the top, taking a moment to catch my breath, Mark patient as he leans against the banister. It's a steep flight, he remarks, as if my struggle is normal, and I glare back at him. Bite me. He should be better at this. He should know not to coddle or be kind. He should know that, within this pathetic body, I am strong and independent. I point down the hall and at my office door. In there. The last guest in my office was Simon. Some days during the winter, when the heat rattles on and there has been no fresh air for days, I can smell his scent. It invades this space, my hand clawing at my neck, the fan useless against it. On those days I open the window and let in the freezing burst of fresh air. I huddle in a blanket, my space heater on, and work. The cold is worth the erase of him, and when summer comes, it's like he never existed at all. Mark takes the couch and I sit down at my desk, powering on my laptop, his email one of several. My first attempt to print is unsuccessful, and I groan as I lean over the printer, unplugging the back and then resetting it. There should be a rule in the universe, one that states that mortal problems will fade with a terminal diagnosis. I am dying. I shouldn't have to deal with petty shit on my way out. Once the pages print out, I take a seat next to him on the couch. We both read, him going through my notes and me marking up his new content. His writing is only getting stronger, falling into the rhythm of the story, staying vulnerable while visually stimulating. And it's a giant level above his normal novels. When I look up, He's settled against the cushion, his eyes closed. "Can I ask you something?" "This should be interesting," he replies, without opening his eyes. "If you can write like this, I lift the pages. Why don't you? Why write the stuff that you publish?" One eye opens and he manages a glare. "God, you're offensive even when handing out compliments." He exhales, sitting up and rolling his neck. "And the stuff you refer to is the only thing that I can manage to sell. I've written other stuff, good stuff." He nods to the pages in my hand. "Better than that. Self-published it, but no one bought it." "So, you reduced your quality for sales. It is a stupid concept, even to my drug-muddled brain. Without sales, this is all a hobby." He gestures to my office. "When I was first published, I couldn't afford a hobby. Romance was flying off the shelves, and no one cared about contemporary fiction with heart." There is a sharp edge to his words, and I glance at him, trying to understand the irritation in the vowels. Does he hate smut? I can't imagine hating the novels I write, spending months in a story that I don't respect. "So you sold your soul and invaded my world," I muse, looking back down at the paper. "Readers seem to like my stuff." I twist my mouth, swallowing the things that I want to say. Marca captured a lot of the lower-end market, their tastes not exactly literary nor picky. "Your notes," he lifts the papers in his hands. "They're kind." He sounds so surprised that I smile. I've been expecting a lot more red. So was I. I shift in the seat and feel the first wave of sleepiness, the nausea pill working its magic. "But your characters are good, and the tone is right. It's not hard to imagine a happier version of you." I smile, but it is forced, my cheeks tight when I stretch them apart. I barely remember my happier days. Sometimes I think that my memory is inventing them, filling in blank slots of time with Hallmark movie clips. I'm not certain that version of me ever existed. I sit at my desk, grabbing at a pen, desperate for a task. Let's do a few more scenes.